Hello, everyone. Just doing my final little stuff. I pray everything is well. Hi, Sister Marilyn. How are you doing this evening? Let's see. Pray you had a wonderful, wonderful day. Let's see. I think we are all good and going and ready to rock and roll. We are. So we are going to get started. Just making sure I got all my good stuff. Okay, good. Better. Awesome. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's devotional, Mary, the Mother of Jesus. It has just been a blessed day. No complaints here. God is just doing some miraculous things and He's moving in mighty ways. But there's also some trials and tribulations that are coming. And so many of us is being hit with craziness and drama, and sometimes we're just feeling like, what is going on? Why is this going on? But it's all for our good. And it's befitting with everything that is going on. Tonight's topic is titled Called to Trust. And when we think about being called to trust, trust is something that is very unique. It takes time to build, to foster, to create, but it can be destroyed in seconds. And so when we're talking about being called to trust when it comes to the Lord, it's something that we should be able to do instantaneous, because He has always proven that He has our back, that He's looking out for us, that He loves us, that our best interest is at, His heart, and when I think about tonight's scripture, Luke, the 2nd chapter and the 5th verse, and basically, it is around the time, Mary is really, really pregnant, and they have to go register. And so because they're married, he has to go with her. And in the New International Version, it says he went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. I'm going to pull up the couple of verses preceding it. Sometimes I love to give stuff in context. And so let's see, we're at, what says Luke 2:5. So I want to read the verses 1 through 5 just to give us more of a context. And it states, and I'm reading from the King James Version, that's the Bible that I have. And it says, and it came to pass in those days that went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was the first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one to his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, into the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And I'm going to read the last one. And with his soul, that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. Now, tonight's topic has been fitting because we've been talking about Mary, how, when she decided to accept and take the call to be God's handmaiden, that when she took the call to surrender what her will was and what she had thought out her life would be, to fully entrust her life into him. But see, now we hear about Joseph, because now what it is, they now have to register. And so therefore, because this is his wife legally, they haven't gone through the whole ceremonies and everything, she has to go with him. He wasn't born in the city in which they were residing in. He had to go to his home country in order to register to pay taxes. So you have this man who didn't understand. He probably understood, but it was just like, how am I going to talk to friends or family? and we have to travel. How do I explain that this is my child, but it's not my child? Who knows what's been said, after everything is gone. And then two, it's too much for her to travel, but we have to do this because it's the law. Think about just the travel. We hear about, they arrived and they were there, but, being expecting probably within her due date. And of course, in those days, they walked everywhere. So we can imagine that this probably took about a good couple of weeks or a few weeks to be able to get to the location. It's not like today where we could just, decide we're going to hop on a train, hop on a plane and get there in a couple of days. They walked, they took donkeys, so therefore these trips could be weeks on a road, and because everyone was now traveling, hotels or inns were filled. So imagine her about to give birth any given day. She's on foot, she's on the donkey. And you think about it, well, she's supposed to be God's chosen, God's highly favored. Why is she going through this? Why is she not have the best of accommodations? But see, she placed her complete trust in God. So therefore, she wasn't figuring out or worried about how it was going to work out, when it was going to work out, if it was going to work out. She was truly confident in the fact that it would work out. She wasn't thinking like, well, maybe I should do this, or she wasn't trying to. So many times what we do is when it comes to God, and we have to stop treating God like we treat, plans that we create on the weekend. When he gives us or tells us to do something, instead of, he's a plan A God. Plan A. We ain't talking about it's not going to be, B, C, D, E, F, double A, double C. He doesn't do any of that. He is right there in there. He's already got it laid out. How it's going to happen is how he's laid it out. So we have to stop treating God like an event. I had to stop treating God like he was an event. For most who know me, I have my own event management company. I've been an event planner for years, as well as an accountant. And of course, in the industry, we always have plan A, B, C, D, if this happened, the rain plan, the storm plan, any type of plan, we always have backups on backups on backups. But we can't have that in our day-to-day lives. And when we think about her journey, the Bible doesn't tell us in any detail about the journey. It is left to our imagination. It doesn't say how they travel. It doesn't say how long it took. So, I am really, when I say it probably took a couple of weeks, just based on, the time and how long things took. Most everyone was walking, or they took a donkey. And think about it. She's pregnant. So I guarantee you she had to stop. We had to do a lot of things. It wasn't just a straight, thing. So it took some time to get to the location that they was at. The Bible doesn't say how, Mary felt, or what Joseph did. Was it hard? And was it a painful, difficult for a pregnant girl? But let's understand, for those who have had children, or those who are watching whose wives have had children, you understand what that goes through, because it doesn't only affect the person that's, expecting, it affects the spouse. So we can imagine it was just a hard journey to get to where it had to be. He's worried about her. He want to make sure that she's okay. Well, even though he's still going through his own issues about this whole thing. But still, in spite of what we could have thought or what they could have thought, they still decided to trust God. See, again, she went, sometimes the journey that God gives us, It doesn't make sense. And that's it. It'll hurt. Sometimes it becomes at the worst possible moment. You think that you're cruising along and everything is going good, and then all of a sudden the journey, there's a God interrupts, and he's going to send you on this journey. And sometimes we look at it and be like, well, I don't want to go on this journey. I don't want to be part of this. I was content and happy with my life and how I was doing it before we got all involved in these things. And that's what we do. We become content. Because listen, I've been on this road before, like going to Bethlehem, and not per se to Bethlehem, but I'm following his will. I'm on this road now. I'm following his will, submitting to him. And it can be challenging. The way that he has this moving, sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes it's painful. And you're upset sometimes because, well, why doesn't he help this along? Why doesn't he move this quicker? Why doesn't he just, get me to the destination I need to be? But see, what you don't understand is that he doesn't step in to make it easy. He just keeps us to tell us to keep walking. He's calling us to trust him. When you think about waiting and trusting God, about how God answers, prayers to, how about his answers to prayers, often come in ways you didn't expect. How many times has you've asked God for something and what he's giving you is something that you're like, what? What is this? Because you wasn't expecting that. You was expecting it one way, and he decided it was going to be something else. And then, or it doesn't come in our time. That's the good one, that it doesn't come in our time. And so when he does answer, it's beyond the time frame we've placed on the situation. And God is just in there like, it's about time. It's time to get cracking now. And you think it's over and you think it's done with, but God is like, no, I knew what I was doing. I did that because if I gave it to you sooner, you wouldn't have done what you were supposed to do with it. We have to cling to our faith and trust in God. He hears us, he sees us, he is with us. And like, you got to, accept that he's carrying us through the trials and the tribulations, even though we can't see the next step to take. In God's perfect timing, everything will always work out. Because many are today, I say this, I know many who's watching, some people are going through some health issues. Some people are just going through just getting their lives in a functioning place. We're all having those trials. And it's like I said yesterday, it's like the little gremlin is just having a field day. And he's just like trying to make us tired, trying to get us to turn from God, trying to get us to stop trusting in the one, in the source. Trying to get us to go outside of him and try to fix something that only God can fix. So he's going to continue to create havoc, wreak havoc, just be drama filled. But see, trust in God is more necessary than ever, because we are in full-blown war. And for many who may not be experiencing it, you're about to get to your plateau where it's going to change from, because you're being brought up, you're being trained, you're being prepared to go into war. So you may see some of the effects of it, you may see some of the battles of it, but you're just like, boom, what's going on? So sometimes God has to allow us to sit in some stuff so he can get our attention. Yes, Sister Marilyn. God has to get our attention sometimes. And so things we think we should be out of, he allows us to sit in. Not because he's not a loving God, not because he's not a caring God. But see, we have to understand that he is God. You know, he is not a genie. He is not somebody we just tell what we want, when we want, and how we want it. That's how we continue to treat him. And in this day and age and in this time, we are in full-fledged warfare. Full-fledged warfare. And we have to stop acting like we don't need to get it together. We don't need to read our word. We don't need to have a relationship with God. We don't need to be on our knees seeking and talking to him in prayer. We don't need to be on our knees in intercession for others. You know, many of us are being battled, tossed, and torn because we're not prepared for battle. And see, trust in God is the foundation for being prepared for battle. Because if you don't trust God, think about this. Let me do a scenario. Most people, your good friends, you out riding, whatever, and y'all going out partying, whatever. You trust your friend. You hand them the keys. You know you trust the fact that they said they are not going to drink. They're going to be the designated driver, and they're going to make sure you get home. And you know what? You don't question it. You hand them over the keys, and you go have a good old time because you trust their word. You trust people even after they've broken trust or they've said something that they didn't keep their word, and you still continue to trust them. Whereas with God, he's never broken a promise to us. He's never not given us what we needed. And I need to say that again, needed. Forget want. Because what we want is not what we need. He makes sure we are good. He's always looking out for us. He has never given us, cause for pause, but we always doubt that love. So therefore, we don't give our full trust because we can't see everything. You didn't see your friend who may have had a drink early on in the night but didn't have nothing else. So you still think that they didn't do anything, but you trust them to drive you home. And so we, again, like I said yesterday, we have to stop treating God like he's some genie, like he's something that's optional. We are called to trust him in all things, in everything. Because see, when we don't trust him, we forget who we are and whose we are. And see, when you forget that, or when you don't truly understand that, it never materializes. You can never understand what your purpose is or why I should do stuff, and then you wonder, where am I at? Because, what I know people say, oh, I can't trust God. Yeah, but trusting God isn't easy. Trust develops over time, but you have to invest in the relationship. That means reading your word, praying, meditating, having your quiet time with him. As I, am going through this journey, I've, learned to lean on him more. I look for his presence every day. I don't just think like, okay, I may, whatever. I yearn and I seek out his presence every day. Because it helps me to grow. It keeps me grounded. Trusting God with my heart, my soul, and my mind gives me strength and peace that does not come from myself. He calms my fears in ways that I can't achieve on my own. Because Juanita is petty and has a temper. And so therefore, what the right thing to do is, my son, sometimes I just want to go oops upside your head. So I can never lean on my own understanding. I can never trust my own feelings. So that's why I always have to trust him. I have to fully depend on him, because if I don't, this journey, I wouldn't be able to do this. See, faith and trusting in God doesn't mean that it's going to be smooth sailing throughout life. And I think that is the biggest, misstep that we had even as coming up. We was told that once we become believers, once we become saved, it was good. And it's a lie. And I'm not saying it's a lie. And in fact, that is not good. Because being reconciled with the Father and having a relationship with him and knowing that you're going to spend eternity with him is amazing. But at the end of the day, that is when the work begins. That is when the test comes. That is when the trials come. But see, when I have faith and trust in him, it means we don't have to navigate our own way. It means we don't have to have it figured out. It means that, I'm okay. We should be okay when the plans that we have in our head and mind that we've laid out doesn't work out. Because when you have faith and trust in God, you realize that it's better to go with whatever God planned. See, trusting him, you can't hold your plans. Trusting him, you can't say, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that. Sometimes when we say, Lord, I surrender, we'll surrender some parts and not all of them. I know I was guilty of that. Like I would say, I'm going to give you this, but I'm not going to give you that. Sister Marilyn, that is awesome. So I'm not going to share her whole, testimony. What she's saying is that, she finally surrendered to something God has been telling her that she needed to do. And, once she did it, it all worked out. And sometimes what happens is that it's that fear sometimes, it's that unknown. And we can't, when we trust him and we have faith in him, we have to let go of trying to have it figured out. We have to let go of trying to figure it out. Because it's not going to happen like that. We're not going to see it all play out at any given point. We're not going to see the end. So if we base the end based on what we're going through right now, we will be miserable. Because then if I base what my end point was going to be based on my week this week, ooh, this week has been cuckoo for Cocoa Puff crazy. It has been like, it's giving me cause for pause, made me wonder about some things. Like sometimes it made me scratch my head and be like, okay, am I all here? Did I miss something? Did I wake up in the twilight zone this morning? So if I, dictated how the rest of my time and my purpose and my journey was going to go based on this week, I would never do anything. Because I'll be like, nah, I don't want to go through anything like that. So I'm good. I'm just going to sit here and chill. I ain't going to do nothing else. But see, the God that I serve, he will just always make it good. He'll always turn it up. He'll always make it a difference. He'll always change. He will show you what your obedience will do. So in obedience to God requires our trust. It requires relationship. I'm going to say it again. It requires relationship. Everything with God requires relationship. Because if you don't know him, about him, the significance of him, the love of him, the joy of him, you can't have the faith in him. You can't trust him. You can't believe that he's going to do what he says when he's going to say. You don't understand that you were made in his image and his likeness and that he breathed the breath of life into you. But you don't know him. So for many of us that are struggling with trusting him and struggling with having a lot of faith, and let me phrase it. When I say struggling, and I'm saying this specifically from personal experience. I used to read my Bible. I prayed. I, dibble dab whatever, but I didn't know him. my relationship with him at the time wasn't solid like it is right now. I let some time elapse. I let some things come in between us. I let things that I put above him. So therefore, my relationship wasn't in sync and solid. So therefore, because of that, I was having issues surrendering. I was having issues trusting. I was having issues within my faith. So it doesn't matter how many years you said you gave your life to Christ. Doesn't matter. I was in my early I was like, what, 11, 12? But if you don't cultivate a relationship, or the relationship you did cultivate and you let it go by the wayside, everything else is going to struggle. Just like in your marriage, if you don't talk to your husband or your wife, if you don't, get to know one another, good, bad, and indifferent, no, you're not going to trust the fact that they said they're going to be where they are, because you know what? You ain't talking to one another. You don't have faith that your spouse is going to do the things that they said because you haven't gotten to know that person. And what ends up happening a lot of the times is one or the other gets frustrated. They go out and do something stupid, and now we're down Splitsville. And so therefore, God never wants us to go Splitsville. So he does everything in his power to make sure that we come back. But see, we have to strengthen our relationship with him, because it's not just to just pick up his word and just says, yeah, I read some scriptures out of it. It's nice. It's more than just saying, oh, I said a prayer when I got up this morning. Oh, yeah, I prayed for the sick. It is really communicating with him. It is bringing to him the deepest issues in your heart. And it's not to say, God knows everything that's going on with us. But we have to tell him. We have to talk to him, as if we talk to one another. So if your relationship is lacking, you're going to have issues in trust. You're going to have issues in surrendering. You're going to have issues in faith. And again, this is calling no shade, no tea, no whatever they say, but from personal experience, because my relationship was lacking, everything else was lacking. You can't have a lackluster relationship with God and have, a fabulous everything else with him. That's not going to ever work. Because when you have a great relationship with him, when you are seeking him, when you're preparing, when you're studying, when you're putting on that whole armor, being ready for battle, nothing can interfere. Nothing can get into the way. Nothing. Now it's not to say you don't have your down moments. It's not to say that things happen or whatever. But like I've always said, it's not that you've made a mistake. It's the fact that you don't stay in that mistake. It's the fact that you go ahead and you repent, you seek God, and you move forward. It's not staying down in that mistake. And I can just testify, just even as of this week, like, y'all know my favorite thing to do when I'm, aggravated is threaten to throat punch people. Y'all know. I do. I slipped up maybe a couple of times about a few weeks ago. But when I say this week was probably one of those weeks that I probably would have crossed my mind, it didn't. But you know why? Because I now seek God before I go to sleep, and when I get up in the morning, I now speak positively and light en route to the job. So therefore, I set the foundation and lay it out before I even step in the place. I no longer allow it to just drain everything in me. I send God first, so that therefore the atmosphere is set. And therefore, I don't have to go into battle the minute I get into work. So at the end of the day, build your relationship with Christ. Build it with him. And know that we can all make mistakes. The golden rule is not to stay in it. It is to repent, come out of it, and begin to do better. And as you continually to seek him, as you continue to read your word, as you continue to communicate with him, surrendering to him won't be hard. Trusting him won't be hard. Having faith won't be hard. I ask you to do these things because I never want you to be in a point where he has to get you to a point, a really low point, to get you to build a relationship with him. He's going to get your attention one way or the other. So give him your attention now. Do it voluntarily. Like I've always said, you are too big to fail. Your purpose that he has birthed in you must move forward. So therefore, he wants you to get it together, because there are people that you don't even know depending on you to live out the purpose that God has given you. And remember, only you can live out that purpose. Only you can execute that purpose. No one else. So I want to thank you for joining us this evening, Mary, Mother of Jesus, Called to Trust. It has just always been a blessing. I do appreciate how each and every night you allow us into your home to, speak the word of God, to just have one-on-one chat, just to talk with you. So we greatly, greatly appreciate it, myself and Minister Peterson. We're going to get her. She be sneaking in and out, just doing some checks on us on, Facebook. But again, she's on sabbatical until July 31st. But just keep her in prayer, as she's resting and relaxing, and just, getting her strength up as well. And trust me, we love you guys so very much. We love you. We love you. We want the best for you. And we're praying for you. We know that there's some health challenges amongst us and the members. And for those who may be watching on live now or on the replay, we do, keep everyone in prayer. We will probably do corporate prayer probably next week. So if you have prayer requests, definitely once I get onto the thing, I'll put the link in everywhere. So if you have prayer requests, we are always collecting prayer requests. We are praying daily over prayer requests. So definitely let us know, what you need prayer for. But we will be back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Now, tomorrow's Friday. So we'll be back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. in the same location. So definitely come and join us, before the weekend break. And we have an amazing study that is coming up beginning on Monday. So just know that we love you. We want the best for you. And I want you to have a wonderful evening. I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Love you so very much. Have a blessed evening and good night.